Good morning, Jeff Light here with our daily look behind the news from the UT Newsroom. This morning we're talking with Public Safety Editor Dana Littlefield. Need another cup of coffee. On to me, one of the most compelling and strange stories that we've had in a long time. This trial over the deaths at the Spreckels Mansion.
Yes.
So the Zahau family, the family of the wife and mother who was ruled a suicide at the...
She was the girlfriend.
Oh, the girlfriend. I'm sorry.
Yes.
Okay.
Girlfriend.
I told you I was going to get in trouble with this. So I'm going to hand it over to you, Dana.
Okay.
We've got running coverage of the trial. We talked a little bit about the setup yesterday, and now we've heard the opening arguments. What does it look like the family has in mind, and what are we going to see over the next few weeks?
Okay. Yes, so opening statements began yesterday in civil court on this case. This was a lawsuit filed by Rebecca Zahau's family. Rebecca was 32 years old. Her body was found at the Spreckels Mansion in Coronado. That home was owned at the time by her boyfriend, Jonah Shacknai. Adam Shacknai, the brother of the boyfriend, was the one who called 911 that day in July 2011 and said that he had found the body, and he actually cut down the body. It was hanging from a balcony, cut down the body before authorities arrived. Later, after an investigation, the death was ruled a suicide by the medical examiner's office, and the sheriff's department, which led the investigation, the homicide investigation, along with Coronado police, determined that Rebecca Zahau did, in fact, hang herself, according to those sources. Well, Ms. Zahau's family never believed that, right. And so they filed a lawsuit.
And there were some unusual circumstances to the hanging, right?
Absolutely, yes. Her arms were bound behind her back, and the rope was tied to a bed. This happened from a bedroom, so the rope went out a second floor balcony. There was DNA evidence that was tested on the ropes, for example. That DNA evidence came back to Rebecca herself, Rebecca Zahau. And so the sheriff's department at the time said that all the DNA evidence pointed back to her, not to any attacker. And so yesterday, in opening statements, the attorney for the family, again, they're the ones who believe that this was not a suicide, they are suing Adam Shacknai. They are pointing the finger at the brother, saying that he was somehow involved in her death. And they have suggested that there may have been some kind of sexual assault prior to the hanging. Now, of course, Adam Shacknai and his attorney dispute all of this. They say that there is absolutely no evidence linking him to her death, except for the fact that he was the one who found her that day. And so, and cut her down, cut the body down. And so, in opening statements, the attorney for the plaintiffs was basically saying, and I want to make sure I get this right, this is based on our reporter, Pauline Reppard's reporting. She was there at the opening statements yesterday. The attorney for the family, attorney Keith Greer, said that Rebecca Zahau was struck in her head, strangled, stripped naked, bound, and tossed off the balcony. And the other side of that, the attorney for Adam Shacknai basically was saying there's no evidence that Mr. Shacknai did any of those things. So that's where we are, essentially. After yesterday, there were opening statements. 2 witnesses, there may have been more, I'm sorry, I have to double check that, but a couple of witnesses testified yesterday, one of them being Rebecca Zahau's sister, and she testified that she believes that this was, in fact, murder. She used that word at least twice, that this was murder, and she actually used the word, the phrase that it was obvious that it was murder. And she points the finger at the sheriff's department for basically not being able to solve what she what she says is a murder. And so her family had to take it upon themselves to do some investigation, and that's what brings us to where we are now with this civil trial. So testimony will continue today. Rebecca Zahau's mother is expected to testify, as well as a fingerprint expert. So those are the two that we know of. Yeah, those are the two witnesses that we know of that are up today.
So far, though, no sense of evidence. Like, the circumstances certainly are extremely peculiar.
Yes.
And I would argue, and I think many have, very suspicious. And people have very strong opinions about what's going on.
Yes, absolutely.
But they're going to have to prove beyond, not a reasonable doubt, but the preponderance of evidence, right? So do we know what evidence is going to come out, or where they're going?
Well, I mean, it's hard for me to say. I'm not the one who was in the courtroom yesterday. I know that there were demonstrations during the opening statements where the attorney for the plaintiffs, for the family, basically showed how, with a kitchen knife, he used a kitchen knife, and he showed how Rebecca Zahau, likely, according to the family, tried to cut the ropes off of her own hands, which would have been difficult to do with her arms bound behind her back. And he is alleging that she was trying to do this to get out of the bounds that were placed upon her by her attacker. And of course, the family is saying that the attacker here was Adam Shacknai. Adam Shacknai, of course, disputes that. So we know that there's that will be contended in this trial. In terms of additional evidence, we have to wait and see what they come up with, what they demonstrate through the presentation of the evidence.
Okay, good. All right. Thank you very much. Let me just add, Dina, you are extraordinarily good at that, and thank God you're here, because I was butchering it right from the start.
Oh, no worries.
We will check back in on this ongoing trial tomorrow. I would encourage you to follow Pauline Ruppard's reporting online, because it's riveting.
Yes, and there also will be a podcast.
And we will also have a weekly podcast, more details to come. See you back here tomorrow.
Thank you.